Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're here live at the World Trade Center in Seattle. I'm here with Jim Makoso, founder of Lucid Oils. Jim is a cannabis extraction processing professional in the cannabis industry. In January 2015, he co-founded Lucid Lab Group, a cannabis extraction technology company based in Seattle. Jim's vision was to create a scientific approach to cannabis essential oil processing by utilizing customized capital equipment in combination with proven scientific processes. By taking a quality-centric approach, Jim has created a company culture known throughout the industry for quality in product and process. Prior to co-founding Lucid, Jim engaged Vuber Technologies as an angel investor in January of 2014. He joined the business management team, where he held the position of vice president responsible for strategic partnerships and business development until October of 2015. He remained on the board of directors until December of 2016, and by spearheading a business model focused on product development while maintaining a customer-first approach, Vuber has become a leading vaporizer company with strong partnerships that include manufacturers, cultivators, processors, and retailers throughout the U.S. Prior to his involvement in the cannabis industry, Jim was a finance professional in New York for 6 years. He holds an economics degree from Stony Brook University with a focus in business finance. Jim, thanks for being on board.
Thanks for having me.
So that is really exciting. And to kind of break that down as to why it's exciting, there's opportunities that we're taking a look at with a lot of these rare cannabinoids. And so when you look at an isolate, it's kind of like a high fructose corn syrup. We've called isolate on this podcast hot dog water. And so it makes me edgy. Kind of like green crack. There's something in it where it just makes me kind of edgy and irritable. And when you have an isolate, nobody wants high fructose corn syrup over honey.
Green crack, the strain we're talking about, not crack.
Correct.
That's the color.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. And so I think that the entourage effect that you mentioned that became kind of famous with Dr. Ethan Russo is adding THC with CBD and allowing that kind of dual effect, if you will, to be better than just one on its own. So CBD with THC is better. An isolate isn't as better as a full plant extract. So I'm wondering if you can maybe dive into that, because we're seeing billboards from a local CVS equivalent called Bartell Drugs. And I think they have full plant isolate, maybe. I think they have something that's awkward, that's just weird. And so that's some misinformation, but I'm wondering if you can maybe just dive into why isolate isn't maybe as good as full plant.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say maybe. I personally, as a person who creates products, I wouldn't say one is better than the other. I would say they all have their own application. What I would say is that it's proven that, it's and there's research on this. You can go on ResearchGate. That's my preferred method to get white papers and things like that. But you can go online and easily type in CBD and THC and dig a little bit and find some papers about this. But the idea is these plants, and it's been shown these compounds specifically together have beneficial effects when they're working together. I'll give you an example. The reason why you see people have more, where there's more efficacy for people who are actually using CBD, let's say for the treatment of epilepsy. I know a woman, she started a company called Nana Secret Soda, and she has epilepsy, and she uses CBD to treat her epilepsy. But her treatment protocol involves THC as well, because THC for her opens up the pathway, whichever receptor it is, CB1 or CB2, I'm not sure, but whatever receptor is in our bodies and our endocannabinoid system, it's not quite available unless there's a little bit of THC to allow us to uptake the CBD that we ingest more readily. So, for her, she noticed, and she kind of did these experiments on her own, that CBD alone didn't work for her. It was not until she started taking a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, and 4-to-1 protocol of 4 parts CBD to 1 part THC in her vape pens or edibles that she noticed that it would actually help calm her the spasms that she was having when she felt an oncome or an onset incoming episode of a seizure. So I think it's no secret, and you'll read about this in papers, that these compounds together modulate how they interact in your body. Now, obviously that's kind of what the pharmaceutical companies are targeting, right? Because for a drug to come out and to make it all the way through FDA trials and to become approved for use by a human being, it has to be one compound acting on one ailment. And that's completely against what we're trying to do here, obviously, in the cannabis industry. So, to backtrack, is there a use for CBD in an isolated form? For sure. I think there are companies that are putting these into products, and there may be some benefit there. Personally, I consume, I'm a big consumer in general. I would say recently I've tapered off of heavy THC consumption, and it's probably because I work a lot and there's a lot of stress, and THC, especially high amounts of THC, affect my mood and give me anxiety. And I have enough stress. I don't need anxiety to add to the mix of my workload. So I consume CBD. And typically I consume a lot of CBD with a very small amount of THC so that I can uptake it more effectively. For me, it works exceptional for things like inflammation. Like I snowboard in the winter. So I'll pop a little bit of CBD, and typically the mixes I make for myself are 5-to-1 or 6-to-1 CBD to THC. Maybe take 10, 20 milligrams of on the CBD side. And so I'm maybe a couple milligrams of THC. But I noticed when I didn't have the THC in my CBD mixture, that I would take for inflammation for snowboarding, that I would almost get no effect. So THC definitely modulates the way that we uptake CBD into our bodies, and I'm sure it does for other compounds as well. But I would say CBD isolate has a place. And if that place, and far be it for me to judge, because I'm in the business of creating CBD isolate as a part of my business. But if the only reason why it's beneficial is that it allows people to have a part of the cannabis plant that makes cannabis mainstream, not only now in our country, but I was just in Europe a couple of weeks ago in remote places, Croatia, in Bosnia, where people were just interested and knew about CBD and hemp. Just the fact that we can have those conversations, now it's becoming a worldwide conversation. If CBD isolate is paving the way for that to happen, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, shout out to the one guy in Baku as Bakistan that listens to the podcast. But to your point, the 20-to-1 CBD to THC ratio is phenomenal. I use that a lot. I was on a panel last week for the Chartered Alternative Investment Analysts group, the chapter here in Seattle. And I get along really well with numbers. People, on the other hand, make me a little bit nervous. And so, public speaking for me at this point in my career is still a nerve-wracking experience. So that 20-to-1 CBD to THC ratio is phenomenal. I killed it. At least that, maybe I didn't kill it. If you see the podcast and you don't think I killed it, I felt like I killed it. So that's all that matters. I felt really good with that 20-to-1. So shout out to Green Revolution. So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. I want to thank my guest, Jim Makoso with Lucid Oils. Check them out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't. And I'm out.